And it's a simple way to get a little exercise in without, really calling it exercise. The second thing here is an emotional. Uh, it's vital that we spend our emotional energy wisely. 24 hours of bad news, traffic, and unreasonable deadlines and toxic people can really bring you down emotionally. It's kind of a drain. So, you might want to surround yourself around more positive people. People that might lift you and inspire you, to do some better things. Get away from that negativity all day, because trust me, it can definitely bring your spirit down. And without your spirit, it's going to be hard to get ahead. That's just my take anyway. So, you got to learn how to spot those negative influences, and just practice on being more positive, Indulge yourself around people who are uplifting, if you will. If that's at church or, just on the Facebook page with people who have something positive to say, make sure you spend some time doing that every day. The third point here is mental. Your mind is a muscle, believe it or not, and it needs exercise as well, just like the body. You got to exercise your muscles, so you may want to do some silly things like crossword puzzles, or just a puzzle in itself. Anything big or small, it doesn't have to be anything specific, but you got to use your brain besides at the job and figuring out what you're going to pick on that value menu, at that drive-through. You got to, just figure out a word for the day. Maybe open up the dictionary and learn just a definition, or maybe even somebody's name that you see all the time, but you never could figure out, didn't know their name, and maybe you can try to put some effort in remembering, just little things that if you do it every day, you find yourself starting to gain a little bit more. Use that muscle you got. They say we only use about 2 or 3% of our brain. I think Einstein used about 10% of his. So, we got a lot of room. We got a whole lot of room to grow and use that mind, because, if you're really good, you might, be able to elevate something, and who knows. The fourth point is spiritual. Get in touch with a higher force. I know you don't have to medicate or pray, 3 or 5 times a day, but, you might want to just get in tune with tuning out, the rest of the world, or, even if you don't believe in God, just find you a way to, connect to something that's beyond human, if you will. Try to connect with something bigger than yourself. If it's only but for a few moments of the day, just cast out all the rigmarole, if you will, and, even if it's yoga, meditation, or just sit quiet in the corner for a little bit, trying to just zone out. Just keep your spiritual guidance in it daily, pick some things from your life that you're grateful for, and just think about some of the good things, some of the ways you've been blessed, and reflect on that. And the most effective prayer in the world has 2 words: thank you. So, just having a little gratitude for your situation and coming out of a situation is sometimes just the best thing that you can do. Recognize how you've come across a pitfall, if you will, and made your way back out. So that's just a way to keep things in perspective, if you will. And the last one is interpersonal. It says to reach out, someone that might have been on your mind lately. You might want to pick up that phone and just give them a call, or shoot them a little text, or even a tweet or 2, just to say, hey, what's up? I've been thinking about you. You might be kind of surprised you find out they're thinking about you too. Sometimes our brain does things in waves that we don't even know is happening, and we can't discount that. So if somebody's been on your mind a lot, you might want to give them a call, because you never know. You might not have the opportunity a week or 2 from there. You might find the situation all changed up and say, man, I wish I would have gave him a holler when I was thinking about him, but now they're not even here anymore for me to do that. So those are just some things I pulled out from one of the articles. Just some daily habits you can just think about, incorporating into your situation, and, find a way to appreciate life a little bit more. Now, the second article, real quick, is titled How to Protect Your Business Ideas Without a Patent. I'm always on that economic lane, if you will, trying to make sure you guys get some knowledge and some ways to figure out to better your situation. And I know there are a lot of you guys out there, and ladies, who come across ideas and concepts, and they don't know what to do, and they're scared to talk to anybody about it because they're worried about it getting, taken. And so as a matter of fact, I was at a seminar for Damon John Academy, and if you guys don't know who Damon John is, he is the black guy that's on Shark Tank. The gentleman, one of the founders of FUBU, and he turned what they call it, $48 to $300 million. Starting his clothing line and marketing and branding his images and his clothing and the hip hop diaspora and the clothes. And so during that seminar, we were sitting out in the lobby, and I sat next to an older gentleman. He started asking, why was I here? And he was trying to feel everybody in the room a little bit. And he told me that he had some ideas that he wanted to get out, but he was too scared to tell anybody because he was scared he was going to take his ideas and run with them. And I told him he should be scared, because that's exactly what they will do if you let them. But so I came across this article, made me think about him, and it's titled "How to Protect Your Business Ideas Without a Pattern." And it's also from entrepreneur.com. And I'm just going to get a few points in here real quick before we move on for the topic of the day. So it says it's natural to fear that your idea may be stolen. You can't turn your vision into reality without help from others. So sooner or later, you're going to have to ask somebody in the industry or an expert to evaluate your product or service. So you're going to have to collaborate with the manufacturer or distributor. We can't do anything alone. If you want to do anything out here, anything big, you're going to have to get some help from somebody. So we're going to go over some ideas on how you can try to protect yourself and keep that idea yours. So most patents cost thousands of dollars to make, which I'm sure y'all kind of figured that out already. And that's kind of what's stopping you from pushing forward with your patent. So what you can do, besides getting that patent, is go through these couple steps of things like non-disclosure agreements, non-complete agreements, and work hire agreements. The first one is non-disclosure agreement. Is basically you sign a non-disclosure agreement that commits him to confidentiality. A mutual agreement between two parties not to share the information that you guys are going to be working on. You can get someone that signed that, and therefore you protect yourself a little bit if they turn around and run with your idea. That you have a lawsuit, if you will, that you can raise against them. The second thing is a non-complete agreement. An agreement prevents an individual or entity from starting a business that will compete with yours. So they can't turn around and make the same thing you made and color it blue instead of red, and then make it your competition. And the third thing is a work for hire agreement. When you hire someone to help fine tune that product, establish a way that you can keep the idea yours. And if anything, they may get a co-inventor status, if you will, but they won't have any rights to your ideas.